active or passive? How do we make out here, Swamiji?
No. Whenever we use ikta pratyaya, then it is always passive.
Okay, so it can be either past or present, but it is always passive.
Yeah, only the tense might change.
Okay.
So it is, but the voice will not change. It is always passive.
Okay. Won't change. Okay. So gataha will be then past passive participle. What will be an example? Example for present passive will be for ikta pratyaya.
Earlier we saw prasthitaha.
Prasthitaha.
He set out.
Okay.
He is setting out. So. So it is based on the context. So it is not always passive.
Okay.
So the context will tell you whether it is, not always past tense.
Past tense. Okay.
Yeah, context will tell you whether it is past tense or present tense.
Okay.
So that is why we always avoid.
The second one I have here is, sorry. No, go ahead, Swamiji. I was going for the next one, but you complete whatever you're saying.
Yeah, so that is why we just stick to identifying it as ikta pratyaya.
Okay, we do. Okay.
Yeah, generally we avoid that. Because it is most of the time past tense. So in English it is translated as past passive.
Okay.
So if you look at the Antoine book, so he will he will always call it past passive. So, but that's a little misleading because sometimes it can be in the present tense also.
But it is always passive. That's for sure. Okay. Okay. So the second one is iktva pratyaya.
Yes.
Which is an indeclinable and gerund. Both that and lyap pratyayas are called gerunds in English, right?
See, iktva and lyap are one and the same.
Okay.
Okay, so it only varies depending on whether there is a prefix or not.
Upasarga. Okay.
Okay, whenever the dhatu is present alone, then you will just add iktva.
Okay.
So like gam dhatu. So you will just add iktva and make it gatva. Suppose there is a prefix to that. A is there. So then, without thinking, you will just add lyap.
Okay. Agamya.
So when a prefix is there, you just add a lyap. There is no. There's nothing else. No other reason. But the meaning is only past participle. Having the meaning, the gerund meaning is the same for iktva and lyap.
Okay.
So gatva means having gone. And when you add lyap, so then also it will have the meaning of a gerund. Yeah. Having done something. Kritva, having done.
Right. So it's always past, in past tense. Has to be in past tense because it's...
Yeah, it is always, the tense is always past, yes.
Okay. And the fourth one I have is iktavatu pratyaya.
Okay.
This is Examples are Gatavan, Gatavati, Gatavat. So it can be in any of the genders. What else I have? So I have noted this as past active participle. So is it always for active voice?
Yes, the voice is always active,
Okay.
but sometimes it is used in the present tense also.
Okay.
Okay, like in Sambhashanam, so aham kritavan.
Right.
So it can have the meaning of I have done this.
Okay.
So in the present tense also, you can say aham kritavan. So that is an option. In Sambhashanam, they use this a lot. So this can be used in place of a verb.
Okay.
So instead of saying aham gacchami, so if you want to say use a verb there, then you will say gacchami. So then you will need to know that it is uttama purushaha ekavachanam. So then what is the termination for uttama purushaha ekavachanam? So then you will have to use me. And you will also need to know whether it is parasmaipadi or atmanepadi.
Yeah.
So all these, factors will need to be considered. But instead of that, in the beginning, they just teach you to use iktavatu. So you don't need to know all the terminations. So atmanepadi, parasmaipadi, verbal terminations, all of that you don't need to know. So just to make it simpler in the beginning.
Okay.
So, but actually in the language, this iktavatu is it is called past active. It is always in the active voice,
Okay.
and generally in the past tense.
Okay.
So that's why it's called past active participle.
Past active. Okay.
So we
Next
have
one,
seen. So it's good actually. So we have seen ikta pratyaya, iktva pratyaya, and then iktavatu.
Iktavatu. Yeah.
Yeah. What is
Then
it?
next one I have is Shatru Pratyaya, which is examples are Kampyan, Gachan. So these will be present continuous participle, present active continuous participle.
No, generally we say present active only. So this in English it is continuous tense.
Okay.
Okay, while the action is going on. See, one good example for this participle is that verse in the Gita that we saw recently. 5th chapter, 8th verse or so. Full of this Shatru Pratyaya. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Prishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan, Pralapan, Visrijan, Grinhan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Api. One whole verse is only present active Shatru Pratyaya. Okay, so that's a very good example for the Shatru Pratyaya. A lot of dhatus are there. Pashyan, seeing, Shrinvan, hearing, Sprishan, touching. So like that, it's all Shatru Pratyaya.
Okay.
Okay, so whenever, so for Pashyan, the dhatu is drish. Actually, drish becomes Pashya. Okay, for that Pashya, you just add Shatru Pratyaya. So then it becomes Pashyat, it becomes.
Yeah.
And when it declines, it will decline as Pashyan, Pashyantau, Pashyantaha. Okay, so in the, it is the noun base is actually Takaranta. But it will decline the first case singular would be Pashyan, that Takara will change to Nakara. Same way for Sprish also, the noun base is Sprishat.
Oh.
So then it will decline as Sprishan, Sprishantau, Sprishanta. Sprishantam, Sprishantau, Sprishataha. Okay, so so that Shabda I think I have pointed out to you. So it is there in the Shabda Manjari. Yeah.
Right.
So all of them will decline in the same way. All the Shatru Pratyayas, it will decline in the same way. But there is one small another detail here. For Parasmaipadi Dhatus, you will add Shatra.
Okay.
Okay. For Atmanepadi Dhatus, you will add Sha.
Mana Pratyaya, Shanach, right?
Actually, it is originally Shanach.
Okay.
Shanach, in Shanach, that Shakara will drop. It is all Panini. Okay, Shakara will drop, Chakara will drop at the end. So what will remain is only Ana.
Ana.
Okay. To the Ana, you add a Makara before. So that is why it becomes Mana. Okay. So all these steps are Panini.
Okay.
Okay, but we for now we will just call it Shanach.
Okay.
Because I'm mentioning, because you will have a doubt as to where that Shakara and Chakara, all of them went away. So in Panini, we just keep adding and then keep stripping also.
Stripping, yeah.
Okay, we add and then, I mean, it's not for fun. So
yeah.
it is added for a, added for a particular reason. And then it is stripped off also, it is dropped.
Yeah.
So, so that is all part of the meta language. So it's fascinating. It's like computer programming, you know.
Yeah, that's good. It's so much to think, so much of logic in it. It's fun once you know. So
in computer programming also, sometimes you add certain characteristics to a particular variable.
Yeah.
Just to distinguish it from something else. And then after the job of distinguishing it is done, then you drop it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So here also, in fact, it is clear. I mean, Panini is like an algorithm. It is an algorithm actually. So, and it's like learning a computer language. How do you learn? How you learn the logic? So here also, you will have to learn the logic. So that we will look at later, at a later. See, generally Panini is ideally taught only after there is some familiarity with the language. So what in olden days, what people used to do was when kids were young, so between when they were 6 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, so they were taught the language first. They were asked to memorize. So the Shabdas they were asked to memorize. So even Panini, the sutras, there are about 4,000 sutras. So the kids were made to memorize when they are young, because when you are young, so you can memorize easier. But they don't understand, they never understood the logic, the meta language, how it is structured. So all that was not taught. And they were taught the language. And at a later time, when Panini, the logic was taught, so then the memory also kicked in, and that also helped in understanding the logic. So some memory is always necessary. So even in computer languages, you at least need to have the basic syntax in your memory. You cannot always be referring, So that is why but here it is much more than basic syntax, because it's a language. So that was the process. So anyway, so coming back to Shanach, so that is why we call these pratyas. Even Nikta pratyaya, that kakara is dropped. Okay, in Iktva also, the kakara is dropped. Only the tva is seen in the actual word. And in Lyap also, the lakara is dropped and pakara is dropped. So, and in Iktavatu, so again the kakara is dropped and the u at the end is dropped. So finally what is actually added is tavat only. Tavat only is added to the dhatu. So like this, Panini, we keep adding and we keep stripping off also. So, but all that is, has a lot of reasons behind it. So beginning we don't teach Panini because then what happens, you lose the, importance or the value that is there in memorizing at least certain basics like Shabdas. So then people tend to think that I don't need to memorize anything. So if I logically understand it, then I will be able to learn the language. But it doesn't happen like that. So for learning a language...
Shabdas, there is a logic then.
Yeah, that is all part of Panini. See, whatever is there in the language has to be included in Panini. Otherwise, it's an incomplete system, So it's it's a flawed system then. So whatever word anywhere is there in the language, then it has to be, Panini should have accounted for it. So see, now I am telling you, but previously I didn't tell you.
Yeah, he said this is the way it is, you said, and I thought, why is it different in every case? Why is it this way? It's hard to remember.
Yeah, there is some logic. So in the beginning we don't teach, because as adults, we want to somehow avoid, we are lazy. So we want to avoid memorizing. So that is why we don't say all these things. So don't teach Panini in the beginning. get some familiarity with the language, and then without even mentioning the logic, so just introduce all these pratyayas, shatra, shanach, and all that. See, once we start learning the sandhis, which we will start doing soon, so then slowly I will introduce Panini also. So because there is a lot of logic in sandhis, there are a lot of rules there. So for that, some Panini methodology is helpful. So Sanskrit learning, it is a long drawn process. So but it is fascinating. So it's very fascinating. And then the more you know, the more you feel, why did I not learn it earlier? So that is why this Subramaniam Swami recently, I saw it in the news. So he has said somewhere that Sanskrit should be made compulsory in the education system. Actually, it's true. Not just because it is connected to Hindu religion. It's all silly actually. Because once you learn Sanskrit, then learning any other language becomes easier.
Easy.
Because you understand the overall structure, grammatical structure, which is true for any language. Whether it is Greek or Latin or Spanish or whatever language it is. So, and then you are able to fit in that language into this generic structure. So, but that you don't learn with English. English has its advantages. I'm not criticizing English. And the flexibility of the language is its advantage. Okay, because it can adapt and it can imbibe features and keep changing. So that is the advantage of English. But for any classical literature, anything that is profound, so that needs to, the structure needs to be fixed. Like for example, just imagine if the Vedas are in English and they were written, just hypothetically speaking. So they were written 6,000 years back. The language would have changed so much. And we would not understand head or tail of what is there in the Upanishads or the Gita. So it was very essential to preserve the basic structure of the language. So for eternity it is preserved. So just how Vyasa wrote it 5,000 years back, we still can understand it because the language has not been allowed to change. So that is the advantage of these classical languages. So all our profound literature, whether it is Ayurveda, so it's like, for example, Charaka Samhita. Just imagine if it was written in the medieval age. So the language has changed so much. So you would not know what treatment to apply for which problem. So it will. so the whole treatment system will go haywire because it is there in Sanskrit. So still, you know, okay, this is how it works, and then you know exactly how the treatment process has to be undertaken. So any subject matter for that, any discipline for that matter, if it's something classical or profound, so which needs to be preserved, so then it needs to be done in a classical language. Just like, for example, Greek or Latin, probably they also have not changed much. So So, so that is why, again, coming back to our pratyaya here, so that is why we don't, we first teach the language and then slowly introduce the Panini system. And then what happens is, over a period of time, whenever you have a doubt, you know exactly where to go and how to refer. So it's a long drawn process. So, like I was saying, that's why Sanskrit needs to be made compulsory. And immediately they will call it saffronizing. It's all nonsense. So this is just as a language, because we are fortunate to have it in this culture, and it is helpful for every discipline. So wherever we have some ancient literature, so it's all in Sanskrit anyway. So what do? Just throw it away? So that's why it was the children were made to memorize, and then so that's the ancient Gurukula system. In fact, even now the Veda Pathshalas they don't do that. In fact, a lot of Veda Pathshalas also need to be the education system needs to be revamped in some ways. So now they just focus on this rote memory. They don't even learn much Sanskrit. So it's all all these people who perform rituals, they don't know much Sanskrit. Some Sanskrit they pick up because they're keeping on chanting it. So they pick up some language, but they don't learn it in depth. So anyway, so again, that's why for Shanach, Shatru is for Parasmaipadi, like Gach, Gam Dhatu, it will become Gachan. Okay, Sprish Dhatu will become Sprishan. Okay, Pashyan, Sprishan, Gachan, Swapan, Swap Dhatu. But if it is an Atmanepadi Dhatu, like Labh, it won't become Labhan. It will become Labhamana. Labh plus Shanach, and then it will become Mana. But the meaning is the same. The meaning is present active, present continuous tense. So Labhamana means obtaining, gaining. But it's an Atmanepadi Dhatu. So we add Mana to it. Okay, so that is how it is. So it is either Shatru or Shanach. This is present active voice. Present active.
So the next one I have is Tumun Pratyaya.
Tumun, yes.
Yeah, example is Gantum. So Gam Dhatu plus Tumun Pratyaya will be Gantum, which is Tumun Pratyayas are always indeclinables. Is that right?
Yes, Tumun is always indeclinable. And then the actual Pratyaya which is added to the Dhatu is only
Tum.
Tum. Okay. That Un at the end is dropped. That Nakara is dropped and U is also dropped. So this Tumun is called infinitive participle. Okay, this is also indeclinable. is called infinitive, and that is also indeclinable. So gantum means to go. We have not seen much of it till now. So kartum means to do.
So why is it called infinitive, Swamiji? What is infinite here?
It's nothing connected to infinite.
No?
It is infinitive. To do, that meaning is there.
Which is not finished.
Yeah, maybe. I don't exactly know what is the meaning of infinitive. But it is more to do with the meaning of the participle. To do, to go. So that is why it is called infinitive. And it is indeclinable. Indeclinable is a different meaning anyway. It is infinitive participle and it is indeclinable. Okay. That to and action is always is added to the action. To do, to go, to come, to see. So to sleep, so like that. So then you add the tum pratyaya to the dhatu. So we will see more of it. But someone is trying to sell something.
Mangoes. Mavinannu. Yeah. So the next one, yeah. No, I was about to go to the next one I have here. I think I have one more. Tavya pratyaya. Tavya, kartavya. We saw this in one of the lessons.
Yeah, we have not seen much of this. Tavya pratyaya. But in the Upanishad, in the Vedas, we see a lot of this.
Okay.
So this also has this Tavya pratyaya. It has the same meaning of lot and vidhiling. Should. Kartavya, should do. Gantavya, to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mantavya, should be thought about. Nididhyasitavya, should be contemplated upon. Shrotavya, to be heard, should be heard. So this tavya has this meaning of order or some injunction. So that's why we always collectively say ling lot tavya.
Oh.
Okay, so ling means there vidhiling only.
Vidhiling, okay.
Yeah. So ling lot tavya. So if you hear to Swamiji's lecture, so then many times he would have mentioned ling lot tavya. So that means should be. Meaning of should be. Yeah, actually it's a good thing you brought it up today. So I'm able to look at the whole thing once more.
Yeah.
So I'm recording it also. So I'll also put it up. So people, when they have a doubt regard to this participle, so they can refresh.
Madam, if you have a copy of that, if you can probably upload it in the private views.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. So tavya pratyaya. So
Swami, in the book there is also perfect participle. What is it? We have
no,
seen
don't bring in these English words. I have already told you.
No, I don't know what is the Sanskrit word for that.
Then ask me only if you know. Okay, so don't bring in some English word and ask me to explain that. See, we'll just look at what we are seeing so far. Don't bring something. I will never ever mention the word perfect participle. Okay, so we will not bring in words that I am not using here. Unnecessary confusion.
This was in the Anton book, Swami. You asked us.
Okay, so don't read Antoine for that. Okay, then you need to find out what is the pratyaya for that. Because that is why I don't follow Antoine. Okay, because he brings in all these unnecessary words. And then we have to learn the meaning of that word instead of learning the language. So we will just stick to pratyaya. That is why I never use this perfect and all this unnecessary words.
Swami, can we have a separate sheet with just list out all the pratyayas? That
No,
will be
you
easy.
make it. You don't make me do anything. Okay, just like she's making it, right? So you also make it. So this is what we are looking at. So you also make it. I mean, I'm teaching you. So we have seen it so many times. You make your own list. Okay, so this is not like spoon feeding, like school, you just make a list and then you distribute. So see, all these pratyayas we have seen so far. So don't keep muting, unmuting. Just stay quiet for some time. Okay, I see you are muting, unmuting, muting, unmuting. So unmute only when you want to talk. So I have taught all these pratyayas. Okay, so like she's making a list. You also make your own list. What all pratyayas we have seen so far. See, that is how you will learn. If I make a list, only I will learn. So I have mentioned all this and we have seen all this. So you make your own list, and then if you have any doubt with regard to any pratyaya, then come back and ask me. Okay, so the list also I gave you. One, not complete, one incomplete list. From Antoine, I just took out some pages and I have uploaded it on the Google Drive. Okay, the rest of it you make your own. Okay, so by now you know. So don't read Antoine and all these perfect and all those words. So we will just stick to pratyayas. Whatever pratyayas we are discussing so far, we will just restrict ourselves to that.
Swami, one clarification. I understand that, but I want to ask which book has the terms? Like we have Shapta Manjari, like that. Is there any book for pratyayas we can refer? Without any
No,
reference
there is
to
nothing like that. Nothing like that, no.
Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, there are some books which, there are some lessons in that big book.
Yeah, see, it will always be lessons. Like we are seeing here, there will always be lessons. So if they have listed it out somewhere, then you find out and you let me know. Then I will also know next time when someone asks. Okay, so I don't have any list like that. But we have seen all these pratyayas and I have explained. So based on this, you make your own list. Okay, so there is no book. There is nowhere it is. In Antoine also, he doesn't. He only gives an incomplete list. Okay, if someone can make it, or you can go Google and try to find out if someone has made it, so then we will use that. Okay, it's too much work. So for you to understand, you make your own list. Don't get confused with all these English words, perfect participle. Only whatever words I have mentioned, you stick to that. Okay, this perfect and all that is not necessary at all. You'll just stick to pratyaya. So any other pratyaya?
No, Swamiji, that's all I have.
Yeah,
from
actually
whatever
that's all we
learned
have
so
seen.
far. Yeah.
So there is this present passive participle also,
Huh.
but we have not seen it much. Okay, like present passive, like gam dhatu. In present passive, it would become gamyamana.
Okay.
We have not seen it, so I'm just mentioning it right now. So it will become gamyamana. Again, there also it will be mana, shanach only. But before the mana, there will be another ya that will also be added. Okay, like gam dhatu, it would become gamyamana.
I think we had one of the shikshyamana. We had that word in one of the lessons about students.
What is that?
Shikshyamana.
Shikshyamana. Yeah, correct. So that the dhatu is shiksha. Okay, then it is passive. So mana is added. And then the ya is also added before mana. So it becomes shikshyamana. That nakara changes to nakara because of sandhiru. Okay, so like that, other words also, lab dhatu, labhamana, in passive it would become labhyamana.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, in passive, the mana only is added, irrespective of whether it is a parasmaipadi dhatu or an atmanepadi dhatu. Okay, so that you don't add shatru and then add a ya. So you always add only shanach. So shanach is default for all dhatus, not just for atmanepadi dhatu.
Okay.
But in present active voice, shanach is added only for atmanepadi.
Okay.
So do you understand what I'm saying? It's getting a little confusing here. Okay, so I'll repeat it. So for present active participle, okay, if the dhatu is parasmaipadi,
Okay.
then you add shatru pratyaya. If the dhatu is atmanepadi,
Okay.
then you add shanach.
Yeah.
This is for present active. Okay.
Yes.
For present passive,
Yes.
you add shanach irrespective of whether it is parasmaipadi or atmanepadi.
Okay.
And you add an extra, you prefix an extra ya also before mana in present passive.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't worry too much about it. We will keep seeing more of it. And when we see, it will become clearer. So this we have not seen earlier, but I'm just mentioning to complete the whole list. Because we have seen present active, we have seen past active, we have seen past passive. So present passive alone seems to be left out. So I just mentioned here.
Got it, Swamiji.
Okay. So it is all like Panini is like mathematical precision.
Yeah.
So like mathematics, how you have very fixed rules. So here also you have very fixed rules.
Yeah.
You have to become familiar with the rules, that's all. Once you become familiar, it becomes very easy. So that's why Sanskrit is not a difficult language at all. So you need to have a certain good amount of logical thinking capacity. Then you will learn it very fast.
So there's no assumptions, no ambiguity, nothing. Everything is clearly stated in Panini's logic.
Yeah.
Rules.
There is absolutely no assumption, no ambiguity at all.
Wow.
No room for any ambiguity whatsoever. But still, that is at a very late stage. Till we get there, then it is, we have to go through, understand the process. See, anything becomes unambiguous only when you know it very clearly. So until then, the ambiguity will be there. But still, from the standpoint of the Panini system, there is no ambiguity whatsoever. So from the standpoint of the system itself. So that's the guarantee. So comes with warranty here.
Yeah.
So there will be no bug.
Yeah.
So still after 2000, more than 2500 years, people are yet to find a bug in Panini.
Yeah, completely bulletproof, false proof.
Yeah. Foolproof.
I heard a similar thing about knowledge in Vedas also, Swamiji. Recently in the radio, Mysore Akashvani, there was a program from, he's a Veda Pandita, Sudhakar Sharma. Sudhakar Sharma, who is a Vedic scholar. There was a two-part interview of him wherein he talked about Vedas, Upanishads and all, and how this knowledge has been preserved, in which he said Vedas is such a false-proof system. It has been secured so neatly with Upanishads and other things that there cannot be any anything else getting added to it, even after many more thousands of years. It has stayed pristine. Nothing has been changed in it. Whereas in scriptures like Mahabharata and Ramayana and all that, the shlokas have been added in later stages also than what originally was written. It was around 25 shlokas in the beginning, but then over the period of time, many more shlokas, many thousands more of shlokas got added. But Vedas is not that way because it has been well secured.
Correct. So that is why we give it the status of a pramana. So, so it is, what we say, completely finalized. So there cannot be, it cannot be improved upon. So if it can be improved upon, then you add something to it. So, so in software also we use this word, So when everything is finalized, we use some word for that. What is that?
Baselining, some.
Huh?
Baselining. Baselining.
Baselining. Some other word is there. Huh?
You freeze it.
Freeze it. Yeah, freeze it.
Versions.
Yeah, no, freeze is better. Yeah. So you just freeze it completely. So it's frozen.
Yeah.
So freeze is a good one. That's what I was looking for. So here also it is completely frozen. So if you like, but yes, in the Smriti, that is why we differentiate between Shruti and Smriti. So Smriti is attributed to some human being, like Mahabharata. So Mahabharata, they say, originally there were only about 8,800 verses or so. Now there are some 96,000 odd verses. A lot of it has been included over time. So Puranas also. So it's not frozen. But now it is kind of actually. Now we don't see people adding more verses to the Mahabharata. But that's why we have so many different versions of the Mahabharata. We have Vyasa Bharata, and then we have different versions in the various vernaculars we have. So that's why Smriti is different. So yeah, so that is why the Vedas are frozen once and for all. So because if you keep changing, then where do you draw the line? So who gets the authority to change it? So because someone is educated from some university, he gets the authority to change it. I mean, then it becomes free for all. We don't have any way of, maintaining the structure. So someone may just feel, some communist may suddenly feel, no, this must be added to the Vedas. So, and then Arnab Goswami will start talking about it. So then we'll have a panel. So everyone will be shouting at each other. So who gets the authority to do it? Yeah. So that's why it's frozen once and for all. So there also, in the olden days also, it is, in today's world, yes, it is people like Arnab Goswami and others. But earlier also we used to have sabhas. But still those sabhas also, they did not touch the Vedas. No one had any authority to touch the Veda. That is why if there is a seemingly grammatical mistake, we don't say it is a mistake. Like I said in the Upanishad class. So we only say it is Chandasam. And then we silently change it and then we leave it there. We don't change the Veda there. Sometimes some words grammatically we cannot explain. So there we have a word for that. We just say Chandasam. That means the Veda uses it, but I have no authority to correct the Veda. But for our understanding purposes, I will change it to another form and then I will understand it, but leave the Veda alone. Because then it becomes impossible to manage. How do you manage that? Over centuries, over thousands of years, it has been preserved. And some upstart cannot just come today and say it has to be changed. So people have found it meaningful for so long. And all our ancestors were not fools to just accept something which is not right. So that is where Shraddha comes in. And yeah, but actually when you understand it, so then you understand that it is there for meaning. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Only these upstarts who don't know, they just try to find mistakes. These people, some people don't even know Sanskrit. They try to find the mistake in the Veda. So, so all that is avoided here. Because nowadays anyone can pass any comment, Anyone can comment on anything. You don't require any qualification. So that's all avoided here by freezing it. So that's what I'm saying. That's why the language is also frozen. Panini has frozen it once and for all. So it all has to adhere. We should be so grateful to Panini for having frozen it like this. In fact, if not, it would have been very difficult to manage. It would have kept on changing. So Panini plays a very, very important role in the whole preservation of the tradition. Even people studying Ayurveda, they have to be grateful to Panini. Because the knowledge they are utilizing at this moment, it is available to you because the language is frozen. Shirshika, you should go and talk about it to your friends. You discuss among yourselves. How it would be if the language had changed. The whole knowledge would have been lost. So you should all discuss about it and then understand the importance of preserving the language for preserving the knowledge. Is the key to unlocking this knowledge. So talk about this to your friends.
Okay.
You discuss it. So then you will understand the importance of learning Sanskrit. If you really want to understand it from the source, so then you need to know the language. So then your friends will also understand the importance of learning the language. So with regard to pratyayas, that is all we have.
Yeah.
So we have not done with pratyayas. So you will, again there will be some doubt. So pratyayas, I mean these participles are like that. So slowly, but now it is, hopefully it is slightly more clear than earlier. So there is always an increase in clarity, just like Atma and Brahman. So here also there is a growing clarity. So different layers of ignorance are removed. So anything else?
Swamiji, I missed for 2 weeks and I'm feeling quite lost already. So it's a good thing that the next 2 weeks I have to catch up.
Yeah. So you can read it. So that's why I'm uploading the recordings. Yeah, you have to be continuously in touch, at least up to a certain point. Otherwise, it will all evaporate. So that's why we are taking it slowly. We are not taking it too fast also. That's why we have these breaks in between. So we are going to have 1 month break now. So just refresh it and then keep reading the Shabdas and keep doing. So slowly there will be improvement.
Swamiji, this labhamana means obtaining, you told, and labhyamana means being obtained, or what? That meaning will come in that way?
Yeah, being obtained, correct, yes.
Present.
Yeah, present tense only. Tense is the same. Tense is only present. Voice only changes. From active it changes to passive.
Oh.
We will see more of passive voice slowly. Okay, till now, this infant reader, it has been restricting itself mainly to active voice. Except when we have this ikta pratyaya and all that, passive participles. So otherwise, it's mainly active voice. So now we'll slowly move into passive voice. Start also looking at passive voice. So anything else? No, you're muted.
Swami, the difference between first future tense and second future.
No, not now. Padmanabhan, why don't you stick to what we have discussed so far? See, let us not confuse ourselves with unnecessary things. Actually, people do the same thing in Vedanta also. So, bringing all these things which are not discussed. We have not even seen too much future. And let's not talking about first future, second future and all that. Yeah, Priya Shankar.
Yeah, Swamiji, in the previous lesson we saw that Nyavasatam and Ni plus Avasatam, Swamiji told in that way.
Yeah.
How that, what do you call, that prefix you identify, where that Nya will come, like some logic is there for that?
No. See, with practice, you will learn to identify the prefix vi, ni, a, and all those prefixes are all common. Okay, so then you see tam there. Then you say then you see nya, and you identify vas also as a dhatu. So there is no prefix. There is no prefix called nya. Okay, so it should have only been ni plus a. So then when we look more at sandhi rules, then automatically when you look at nya, then immediately you will identify it as ni plus a.
Ni.
So then you have avasatam. All that will slowly become automatic.
Like pra also, no? Pra.
Pra also is a prefix, yeah. Pra is a prefix. So there are some 22, there is one shloka also. So if you want, you can memorize. Praparapa samanvava nirabhivyadi sudati nipratiparyapayaha. Upa angiti vimshati resha sakheti akriti gana katita kavina. So all the prefixes are listed here. So there are some 20 or 20 plus 2, I think. 20 it says vimshati. So these are the prefixes.
After 1 year.
Yeah, so like, so in Sanskrit, in all our traditional literature, we have a shloka for everything. So just memorize that shloka. So then it stays in your memory. You remember it. So pra, para, apa, samanu, anu, vi, adhi. So like that it goes on. Praparapa samanvava nir abhi vi adhi nirabhivyadi su ut su ati nirabhivyadi sudati ni prati parya apa aya upa ang. So these are all the. So you remember the shloka and you are able to split the sandhi, then you know all the pratyayas.
Even for this 18 Puranas, 2 lines shloka, it takes time to remember it.
Yeah, for Upanishad also we have. I don't know the 18 Purana shloka. Upanishad is there. So for Upanishad we have. Isha kena katha prashna munda mandukya tittiriya aitareya Isha kena katha prashna mundaka mandukya tittiriya aitareyam cha chandogya brihadaranykas tatha.
Taittiriya.
Taittiriya, there it is mentioned as Tittiriya. Because Taittiriya got the name because it was what was eaten by Tittiri birds, mythological birds. So the story is that Yajnavalkya, he learned the Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda from his teacher. And then he asked some doubt which the teacher could not answer. I think that's the story. I'm not very sure. I think he asked some doubt or he did something which upset the teacher. I don't remember the story now. So the teacher said, you don't deserve the Veda. So you vomit whatever you have learned. So he vomited all that he learned. But still the Veda needed to be preserved. So some Tittiri birds, some other Sishyas, in the form of birds, they came and they ate his vomit. It's all story, okay? So there is not much logic to it. So that is how the Krishna Yajurveda got preserved. I don't remember the full story now. So that's why the Upanishad that was eaten by Tittiri birds has become Taittiriya. Because it is there in the Krishna Yajurveda.
Adhikaritvam is not there those gurus won't accept it.
Yeah, yeah. So, adhikaritvam and all that will come over time. It's not to be too bothered about adhikaritvam. Otherwise, that also becomes that also becomes a pratibandha. That is something preventing your assimilating this knowledge. Yes, adhikaritvam is needed, but you don't need to. There is no textbook perfect adhikari. No one ever, in any part of human history, has ever been a perfect student. It is all only in books. People always grow over time.
Simultaneously while Shravana.
Yeah. Adhikaritam always it is gained over time. So, anyway. So if we don't have any more questions, then we can finish. Yeah.
I think you gave a small list of participles from the Anton book, 5 columns. The present active, present passive, past passive, and indeclinable past participle infinitive. I think we have seen this, but I have a question about the first two. So is the first two is Shatru and Sanich?
What is the first two?
The present active and present passive.
Okay.
But it says, for example, Kirati. Kirati, it says in present active participle.
No, it's not a participle. That's a verb.
It's a verb, but here it says it's listed in the column. That's why I'm asking this question. In the book,
No,
says what?
verb. So that is also, but that is not listed as a participle. See on top of the column.
Okay. Yeah, it just says present active and present passive.
That's all. So then why do we have the doubt? See on top, so if it's not listed as a participle, then it's not a participle. It is a verb.
Just twice for the verb.
Yeah.
Active.
Yeah, that's a verb. Even that sheet doesn't say it is a participle.
Yeah, it doesn't say, but I thought this is all supposed to be participle.
It doesn't say, then how can you assume? See, I think you're putting too much pressure on yourself. So, trying to get confused where there is no confusion. So, I think you just need to relax a little more. Even in Vedanta, Padmanabhan, you need to just relax. You're becoming very tight. So just relax and everything will fall into place. There it's not even mentioned as a participle, but it is part of some table. So then why do we get a doubt whether it's a participle or not? And we have seen so many verbs that ti, taha, anti. We have seen it so many times. So then how can it be a participle? Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om